Hi, collectors. Thanks for watching. I'm the collector of coins, and welcome to
Higher or Lower Coin Game, where coin dealers face off to test their knowledge on coin mintages. Which one has a higher or lower mintage than the other? We have a few dealers coming up. Stay tuned. Well, we left off with the scores being 15 for Bob, 16 for Dave, and 16 for Scott. Let's continue with this episode and see who wins the higher lower coin game, Coin Mintages Edition. And in the meantime, if you're not yet a subscriber, consider subscribing to my channel and please turn on posting notifications.
So we're going to keep it up a little bit with the tricky ones here. All right, let's talk about the $3 gold piece.
Not one I've had in my case, unfortunately.
Oh, we're getting back into the area where I don't know a lot about the golds.
Is that the silhouette looking left with a crown?
Yes, it's sort of an Indian princess.
It's a nice princess design. I think it's one of the ones I like the most.
I like the coin. To me, it doesn't look like a U.S. coin.
Don't know a whole lot about the $3 golds. I do know that they're a harder series to find.
They did it at a time when they had the Liberties.
It's kind of an odd denomination.
The Liberty was the same design across all the gold coinage.
You can find the 20s and the 10s and the 5s and the 250s out there all over the place.
And the $3 similar to the $1 coin.
Ones are a little harder to find because of their size,
which sort of had like a princess look to it. But it's detailed enough. There's some interest to it.
They're a little harder to find. They do command some premiums.
There's not a lot out there. That could be one of the underrated coins.
Does the 1854 $3 gold piece have a higher or lower mintage than the 1816 large cent?
But I'm going to say
2 million minted for a gold piece is generally a lot.
I think 1854 may have been the first year of issue. So I think this is higher.
So I think I'm going to go with lower.
The gold $3 is lower than the large set.
I would suspect the mintage is maybe higher.
Wouldn't that mean you would come across these more frequently?
Lower.
Lower.
Or is it the cost that's prohibitive?
I think it's the cost that is. And these are so popular, I think dealers have them on their want list. Even if the 1854 is higher,
lower.
Lower.
There's probably more collectors of the $3 gold coins in the world.
Lower.
Lower
than there are pieces actually made.
And you're saying that this has a higher mintage?
Lower.
Lower.
Let's take a look. It's a lot lower.
Yeah.
Well, Dave may have been overthinking that one. The scores are tightening up. Scott has taken the lead.
Let's move on to the next coin. Now we're going to compare the $3 gold coin to the 1832 cap bust half dime.
Pretty small coin.
So the half dime would have been a seated coin or a bust coin.
They were made of silver back in the early to mid 1800s.
Actually date back to 1700. They were produced with the original coinage that we did. So there is a flowing hair and a draped bust version that predate the cap bust. Very small mintages. However, when you look at the red book in the half dimes, the first entry is 1792 half Disney.
I do get a lot of requests when I set up at a show for half dimes. One of the big questions I get from collectors is like, why is it half dime and not a nickel?
That was around when silver was relatively cheap.
Well, yeah, I think they were only called nickels because they were made out of nickel.
And it's called a half dime because it's made out of silver. It is equivalent to 5 pennies, which is half the amount of a dime. So that's why they call them half dimes instead of nickels.
Does the 1832 cap bust half dime have a higher or lower mintage than the 1854 $3 gold piece?
I know nothing about the mintages of capped bust half dimes.
138,000 $3 gold pieces. That's a very low number.
32, 33, 34. You get a lot of the dimes. You get a lot of the quarters.
But I do know that 138,000 minted is an extremely low number.
Higher because the 32, 33, and 34 cap bust half dimes. I think that's some of the most mintages out of that series too, is those years.
All right, let's take a look. And you're right. Nearly a million minted.
A capped bust half dime would probably be even lower. I'm going to say lower than the $3 gold.
Let's take a look.
Wait a minute. I think I'm wrong. I meant lower.
So it's higher, actually.
Could be trying to pull another trick question. Is this hard to find 1832 cap coin? Since I don't know anything and I feel that 138,000 is a very low mint number, I'm going to go with higher.
All right, let's take a look. Yeah, almost a million minted. Quite a lot, actually, for this time period, in my opinion.
And once again, it's all tied up. We got a few more coins left. Let's see who will pull out a victory.
All right, let's take a look at the next coin. Ah, the 1832 cap bust half dollar. Talk about the capped bust half dollar.
Capped bust half dollars.
It's a pretty nice looking one.
Impressive coins.
Those are an extremely popular series of coin.
I forget when it started, the cap design.
Cap bust coinage is generally fairly popular.
They grab attention.
You have one there in the background. I see it.
I mean, I don't know what it is. The curls, the drapes coming down are very attractive.
Because they started calling it cap, but it was more like, I think, like the 1830s.
Cap bust lettered edge was produced in 1807.
Al Overton, he actually cataloged these and found a lot of different die pairs, and they're called Overton varieties.
In 1836, they started the reeded edge. So
Yeah.
because a lot of our coins have the reeded edge, I think that's probably what most people remember because that's the start of it. But it did have a lettered edge before that. So compared to the 1832 cap bust half dime, does the 1832 cap bust half dollar have a higher or lower mintage?
So you're asking me, did they make more or less than $1.5 million, essentially?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know the 50-cent piece is probably a little more versatile.
They seem to start focusing on the half-dollar denomination in the 1830s.
I'm going to say that they made, even though it's way back in 1832,
Would it cost proportionally more to make the half dollar because they put more silver in it?
the cap bust half dollar is a higher mintage.
All right, let's take a look. And you're right.
Again, like we said, you get up to $1 million in this time. It's
I think it's a little bit higher. The 1830s is the items you see the most.
All right, let's take a look. And it is higher. Look at the quantity higher. I mean, I would personally think people needed more half dimes than half dollars, but completely different mintage here.
I'm going to go with lower.
All right, let's see.
Oh,
Will Bob catch up? Will Dave and Scott duke it out to the end? We got 2 more coins left.
All right, let's move on to the next coin. The trade dollar. Talk about the trade dollar.
the trade dollar was made. Let me try to pull my history.
That was one definitely used for competition overseas with the other countries
I've got a bunch of counterfeit pieces of trade dollar.
because they had more silver.
It was circulated. It was legal tender.
And then we produced the trade dollar with more silver in it and went overseas.
You know, one's got to be very careful and develop an eye.
But I do believe it's the only coin that we demonetized that you cannot spend today.
And then at one point, silver went up in value.
Unlike Morgan dollars and Drake bust dollars and seeded Liberty dollars, can't spend a trade dollar today.
The value of the silver changed, not as much silver in them to support the dollar.
They haven't bought a whole lot of them.
It's the only monetary instrument that we have minted or printed that you cannot use today.
Does the 1876 San Francisco minted trade dollar have a higher or lower mintage than the 1832 cap bust half dollar?
20 grams, 9.900 fine.
I don't like the 420 grains 0.9 fine. That's never been on a coin that we've had before.
The San Franciscos then were some of the highest mintages for the trade. That was like 77, 78. Those are the ones you see the most.
And I understand these we're trying to keep up with like international coins, and we needed to say what the purity was.
San Francisco would have made the most trade dollars in general.
Interesting. I would ordinarily say lower.
4.8 million is a lot, but I do know that we are trying to establish our presence with these dollars.
By virtue of the fact that it was to develop trade, they probably had to mint a whole lot of these guys.
We very well could have pumped out a lot of them.
I would say higher.
I'm going to take a shot at it and say the trade dollar had a higher mintage.
Let's take a look. And it is higher.
I'm going to go lower. Close.
Close. We did produce more. This is not the most minted out of any of the years. I think this is the second most minted.
Well, unfortunately, it is now mathematically impossible for Bob to win this game. We only have one coin left. It's all tied up. The next coin decides it all.
All right, let's move on to the next coin. So now we're comparing the trade dollar with the modern commemorative. This is the resurrection of the commemorative series. This we had stopped for many years. I think 1952 was the last year we produced it. So there was a 30-year break. In 1982, we issued a commemorative silver half dollar featuring George Washington. It's a modern commemorative half dollar.
Modern.
So modern commemoratives are generally, not always, but the bulk of them are made out of silver.
Thoughts on the Washington half dollar commemorative?
It was a nice idea to do that.
And I can't say that I've noticed one when I've probably looked at one.
Want to commemorate some event of something, whether it's George Washington's birthday.
I just think they overproduced them. I think they thought there would be a lot more demand when there certainly wasn't.
Does the 1982 Denver minted Washington commemorative half have a higher or lower mintage than the 1876 San Francisco minted trade dollar?
Interesting design.
I think it's close. They're mintages.
I mean, this is obviously a big event, Washington's 250th birthday.
Yeah, they did make a lot of these.
My gut says lower because commemoratives are generally printed in lower numbers.
I don't think they made 5.25 million of the Washington commemoratives.
And 5.2 million, that would be a lot for commemoratives.
I'd say it's higher.
It's lower.
I like how they did the building. Angle view to it, nicely detailed.
Overall, obverse and reverse, it's a killer design. My intuition says it's going to be lower than 5.2 million.
And it is lower.
So I'm going to say the modern commemorative is going to be a lower mintage.
All right, let's take a look. And you're right.
And once again, modern coinage is Dave's Achilles heel. Congratulations to Scott, who has won the higher or lower coin game, Mintages edition. And keep an eye out for future episodes of the higher or lower coin game, where we look at which has a higher or lower coin value. Thanks for watching. And if you're not yet a subscriber, please consider subscribing to my channel. Thanks again, and happy collecting.